The one thing that is a downside to the Ziss breeder box is, hey guys, welcome back to the Aquarium Library with Andrew. Today we're going to be talking about the Ziss breeder box and a review of it after a year or so of me using it in many different applications and in many different ways. So if you're interested in a review of the Ziss breeder box before you get one, make sure to stay tuned. I'll try to give you the best rundown of how I've used it and how I've enjoyed it and how I've liked it and how I haven't liked it. Also, if you do like the video, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more fish videos if you like the video as well. So I think the biggest plus for the Ziss breeder box is that it is internal rather than external. Unlike your marina hang on back breeder boxes that actually protrude from the side of the tank, this one resides within inside of the tank, so you never have to worry about knocking it or bumping it or hitting it in any way to spilling water onto your floor or breaking it. So I think that's a very large perk of this, is that it is a internal breeder box. And it is better than other internal breeder boxes like your typical mesh ones, because this one actually has the ability to have water flow coming through it, through the air stone that you can put in the back of the Ziss breeder box right here, and it will have air at the very bottom here that will rise up and will come into the tank and then will flow out of all three of the mesh sides, or all two of the mesh sides in my case. And that way you have water exchange actually happening and actual water turnover happening, whereas with the mesh breeder boxes you have an issue of potentially having stagnant water in those situations and not getting good clean water into your fry that you have growing out or other fish that you normally be keeping in there. So I think that is the biggest advantage of this one over the mesh ones, is that the ability to actually circulate water through in an efficient manner that allows for introduction of clean water continuously. The one down thing about having this internally is that the water level can fluctuate as the tank that it is residing in fluctuates. So you can see right now the black lip at the top of my tank is where water would normally be, but now it is further down. So as a result, the water coming into the Ziss breeder box would be hampered because there isn't as large of an area for water to flow in through the back. And for people that keep their water levels at a proper height or don't let it evaporate much or keep a constant height, this wouldn't be a problem. But for me, as I'm moving water around and doing water changes and whatnot, this box can fluctuate in water depth quite a bit. So that's just something to be aware of before purchasing it, is that if you have fluctuating water levels, either because of water changes or things of that nature with an automatic system, or just the nature of your system that you have water evaporating off, just something to be aware of before you look at purchasing it. So I have actually tried spawning fish in here. I've tried spawning my CPDs that I have in this breeder box, but without much success, with using some yarn and some moss and different plants as a spawning material, but never found any eggs in there. And once I actually moved them into their own dedicated spawning area, spawning tank rather, I've had great success with raising up hundreds of fry at this point. So I would hesitate to recommend this for breeding fish in, as there isn't a very good way to separate eggs from the adults, and the adults can just go down and eat the eggs after they've been spawned. I think this is a very good system for either raising those fry that you produce in another tank, moving them into a smaller body of water so you can target feed them better, moving in fry from live bearers or African cichlids so they don't get consumed by other fish inside the tanks. Those would be great applications for this breeder box, and you'd be able to reliably feed them a small feed and not have them competing against other fish for that same food. So you'd be able to get them hopefully larger faster in your tank. Or the other thing that you can do is keep nano species of fish. So for my case right now, I'm actually using this tank, or this breeder box rather, as a housing space for my Illosoma gilberti, which are native Pygmy sunfish to North America. And their tank that they were in before had to get condemned, basically, because I had more fish coming in and they could go into this smaller box, whereas the fish coming in couldn't necessarily go into the smaller box. So it allowed me to shift around some fish that otherwise wouldn't have a home. And actually in this tank, this 40-gallon breeder, I have the Illosoma gilberti in this breeder box Ziss. Next door, if you've seen some of the fish swimming by, those are some fry of my CPDs growing out. I have a culture of scuds in all of my tanks. And then in the 40-gallon breeder that all of it is situated in, I have my colony of blue drain shrimp as well as super red pleco grow out. So I'm able to keep a lot of different fish in a singular tank by utilizing breeder boxes or other containment systems. The Ziss breeder box could also be used as a hospital tank or hospital system for a fish that is getting bullied upon in an African cichlid or Central American cichlid tank. You could take that fish out, put it into this breeder box, let it recover for a couple days or weeks, and then once it is recovered, you can add it back into the system, and it's never really left the system. It's just been isolated in the same system, so none of the water parameters or conditions change, and it's less stressful for the fish. The one thing that is a downside to the Ziss breeder box is the cost, and the cost of this is much higher than, say, a Marina hang-on breeder box or the mesh breeder box that you can buy elsewhere. I think that this one runs for around $35, $40 brand new. I got mine as a gift, so I can't say precisely what it would be from the different places that you're buying. It could really fluctuate on where you're purchasing it from. So that the cost of it is really the biggest downside to it. There are a lot of other perks with it. You can remove these metal grates here so that you can actually connect multiple ones in series together, so you can expand out your fry grow out area as your fry get larger without having to move them into a larger tank or dedicating another tank to them. So I think that's a pretty clever design and a nifty design that you can't do with, say, a Marina hang-on back breeder box or other mesh ones. Once you've reached that size, you can't just attach another one onto it. So I think that's a great asset to these breeder boxes. Overall, I'm very happy with it, and if you guys are looking for a breeder box to put fry in and use it inside of the same tank that the adults are in so you can keep the same water parameters, I think this is a great option. And it's not going to be external and potentially get bumped by you as you are doing your normal routine water changes and walking around the room. And for those of you curious, there is one of the Illosoma gilberti actually in the tank. You can see the blue iridescence on it quite well, and when they are actually in breeding colors, they're even more vivid than that. But anyways, I appreciate you guys sticking around. If you guys have any questions about the Ziss breeder box, feel free to drop me a comment down below, and maybe consider subscribing to the channel if you really enjoyed this video. Alright, I'll see you guys in the next ones. Have a blessed day. See ya.